All right, so now we're looking at Greenwell number 2. We're going to look at the fingering for the four voices. Again, the first thing we're looking at is we're looking at the bass and tenor, and we're looking for any spaces, areas where we might want to take the tenor voice with the right hand. So looking over the first system, looks to me like everything is very reachable for the left hand, so no issues there. But if we look at the second system, we do have one spot, and it's actually already highlighted in blue, um, right over here, okay? Because the left hand bass goes down to a low G. So in this case, we could decide to, and I see here that I've actually have both of these highlighted. Um, I think in this case, I'm actually going to recommend just doing the first one, and then we'll take the second G, this one right over here with the left hand again, okay? Because that's really the only one that you can't reach. All right, so now that we've established that, let's go ahead and do our finger numbers, and we'll start with the left hand. I'll do left hand in red. All right. So starting off, I'm just looking at kind of my range. So I see that we've got basically the lowest note's a D for a little while here, and the highest note's an A for a little while, okay, up until the beginning of the third bar. So I know that we could start in D position, and I think that makes the most sense, but you could also start in a position that's already a bit more open. But just to keep it easy, we'll just assume a closed position here. So let's start off with 3-5. So the left hand's in just D position, so 3-5. The next chord will be 1-5, and that'll stay through the second beat, and then it'll go back to 3-5, then 2-5, and all this is actually going to be very easy. Oops, not 2-5, I'm sorry, 1-4. 1-4, and the reason is because, well, we're going to stay in D position, just for simplicity's sake. So 1-4, and that's going to maintain, and then to 1-5. So that's the finger numbers for the first bar. I don't want to move that. And now let's take a look at the third measure. Now it's going to an A octave, so we have to stretch your hands out to the octave, so 1-5 again. And then for the third beat of that measure, still 1-5. It's a seventh, which is still a really big stretch. So we just shift our thumb down right there. And then moving along, I'm looking ahead just to see what we'll have to do. And I can see on the next measure that we're kind of back to that D position. So that's what I'm going to suggest, is to go back to D position, which will put us back to 2-5, then 3-5, and then 1-5. We'll stretch our thumb for the sixth there. Okay, so that's a bit of a stretch here. Okay, so that's the first system. And now let's look at the second system for the left hand. And because we are going to be going to an octave at the end of that measure, okay, which will obviously be 1-5, right? And because we came from our thumb on B here, I'm going to suggest that we actually do 2-5 here on the D and the A. 2-5, 5-2. Okay, we're coming from a sixth, so that's going to be very natural, and then you'll actually end up going to an octave, so it works quite nicely. Now from that octave, third finger is already going to be naturally on the G, so that's what we're going to do. 1-3 on measure 6. And then you're going to jump back down to a G octave, okay? But it's staggered, so we'll use 5 and then 1. And yes, we'll I'll suggest doing both of those notes with the left hand. It'll make the right hand a bit easier. And then in bar 7, because we're going to be going to an A octave here, let's go ahead and start off 2-5 on the F sharp A. That way, you'll already be ready for the octave. And then the 7th, 1-5, top note goes down, stays the same, and then we'll end up on 2-4. You could also do 2-3. Would also work just as well in the ending there. Okay. So that is the left hand fingering right there. Now let's take a look at the right hand fingering. So in the beginning, again, starting in D position makes a lot of sense. I'll do the right hand fingering in blue. So we'll just start off with a 1 on middle D. Then we go to 1-3, and that'll stay the same. There. Then 1-5. And the alto goes down a half step. We'll do 1-5 there as well. And then 1-4 on the C sharp G. Okay. And then for the D F sharp, back to 1-3. And for the next measure, we're actually going to go to 1-2. And the reason is because it'll prepare us for this nice stretch up where we'll have 1-5, the 7th. Okay. That's nice and comfortable that way. And then for the final measure of the first system, 1-5 again. The bottom note goes up a half step. And we'll do 1-4 on the D A. And then 1-3 at the end of that measure. Continuing to measure 5. Okay. So this actually outlines a D major arpeggio. If you actually think about it, we have the notes D, F sharp, A, and D. So that's the fingering we're going to use. 1, 2, 3, 5 on those notes respectively. So we'll have 1, 2, then 2, 3, then 2, 5. Same thing on the 4th beat. It really is just the same outline. Then for measure 6, 3, 5, then 2, 4. Okay. Now on the next beat, this is where we have to capture the tenor voice. Okay, so we're going to be using 1, 3, 5 here. Now this B is actually the same note. You see? The B in the tenor is the same note as the alto. So the only difference in this chord is that we don't play the 5th finger on G. The soprano goes down. Okay, but as far as your hand's concerned, you're just omitting the G on that last chord in that measure. Okay, so it looks like it's moving, but with the way we're fingering it, it'll be really easy. Okay. And going to the last 2 bars. Okay, I'm going to suggest us to do this as 1, 3. And these do shift down a step. This outlines a D major second inversion. So 1, 3. And then we'll just stay in the same position. 3, 5. Then 2, 4. And the same chord happens again. And we'll end on third finger. Like that. So that's the finger numbers. I'm going to go ahead and play this for you so you can hear how each of the hands sounds. Here's the left hand. 1, 2, 3, 1 and 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 2, 3 and 1 and 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And here's the right hand. 1, 2, 3, 1 and 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 2, 3 and 1 and 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And this is both hands together. 1, 2, 3,